I've touched off my dovetail cutter on the bottom face, measured back, touched off on the front face, sorry, come back. I've actually taken a couple of passes already, and I'm going to set this step to 7mm. I've got a slight redesign and I'm going to do a 7mm step. So I'm at 6.9, I've just moved over a final 0.1 from the front face. I'm right down into the corner with the apex of the cutter, maybe 0.1, 0.2 or of a cut already taken into that corner, and I'm going to do the first pass across. Now I got the speed running very slowly here. I'm running at 3.6, 360 RPM, and I'm taking it very gently indeed. After my little fiasco with breaking that 10mm milling cutter when I was doing the flat corners, this is the only dovetail cutter I've got. I believe it's a 60-degree dove cutter, dove cutter. And as I say, it's the only one I've got, so I'm being very, very gentle with it indeed. I'm taking 0.1 of a millimetre cut off this face, and I'll probably speed things up now that I've done my little chat and cross across the path. So having done that first pass, I'm going to wind the block up. I'm going to go very gently, as I say, probably 5 thou at a time. Keep bringing it up, 0.1, 0.15 of a millimetre, something like that. On my target area, I'm not particularly worried about a dimension. My target is to leave, to put the angle in on that face, but to leave probably 1 to 1.5 millimetres of flat. When I get somewhere near, I'll see what it looks like and make a decision. So here we go. Okay, so that's the final cut done. Let's get you into focus. Here we are. You can see at the top of the dovetail, this area here, I've actually left a flat 2mm wide. Reason for that is if I did the dovetail right up to a point, it would leave a very weak, sharp edge on the top. Yes, I could run a file over it, put a radius on it and what have you, but the profile shape of, if you can imagine there'll be another dovetail the same down at the bottom, is far stronger on that top edge, and if it gets little dinks or knocks or anything on that top face during use, it won't affect the position of the dovetail and the fitting of the tool holders on the dovetail at all, really, as long as they're not too excessive. But if I run the taper right to the top and I got a dent on the corner, then it would affect the location of the tools. So that's the reason I've left a 2mm flat on the top. I was toying with the idea. I thought I'd just see how it looked as I was going along. Got to a point where I thought it looked about right. It was about 2.2mm. Took a couple more scratches until it came out at approximately 2mm. So I'm going to do exactly the same on this underside here. Flick the block around. Do exactly the same on the other side. And then we'll talk about measurement of dovetails and the fact that both of my dovetails on this block have to be identical. The actual physical size isn't important, what it is, other than it's somewhere near my design size. But both of the dovetails have to be absolutely identical because I'll be making the tool holders to fit the dovetails. If the two dovetails are different, then obviously a dovetail that fits on the one, or a tool holder that fits on the one dovetail, might be loose or tight on the other one. So we'll go into that in a bit more detail later on. Okay, so this is the final cut on the second dovetail. Taking it nice and gently. As I said earlier, I've only got one dovetail cutter. Do not want to break it. Okay, so that's the second, whoops, daisy, that's the second side of the first dovetail done. As you can see, they're equal about both sides. I've left 2mm flat on the top and basically machined them to have a 2mm flat on the top on both sides. The actual dimension here isn't important, as I said earlier, but we'll come on to that later. Okay, so it's coming along nicely now. That's the first dovetail complete and the first side of the second dovetail done. Now it gets a bit complicated. Okay, so having finished machining the first dovetail, which is across A and B, I now need to do the second side of the second dovetail, which would be across C and D. Now what I need to know is the measurement across the two angles on A and B. How I'm going to do that is by using, I've basically got two, let's call them 6mm dowels. They're 6mm punch blanks. I have an old press tool, but they're precision ground to 6mm in diameter. So what I'm going to do is place those two dowels. They could be anything precision ground of a known size on my block. And what you'll see with these is that the position where the circle intersects the angle is about 2/3 of the way up, between half and 2/3 of the way up, somewhere like that. Probably about 2/3 of the way up the angle. So by putting these two precision ground rods in that nest, as it were, by here, if I measure across the outside of these two pins with a micrometer, that will give me a known reading. Where it gets that reading from isn't important, but as long as using the same two pins on the other dovetail a little bit later on, I get exactly the same reading across the micrometer as I read across the two pins with a micrometer, I will get a datum reference point, let's call it. Now, as long as the other side measures exactly the same as this one, I know that both of those dovetails are exactly the same dimensionally. So in this instance, my measurement comes out to 1.686 inches. Now, I know I'm normally talking metric and I'm talking inches now. I've got a couple of 0 to 25 and 0 to 25 micrometers in metric. I've got a 0 to 1 in imperial, well, two 0 to 1s in imperial, but I haven't got a 1 to 2 in metric micrometer. This one looks like it's had a hard life, but it actually measures very accurately. But it's actually, the measurement with this micrometer comes out at 1.686 inches. What that measurement is not important, as long as when I finish the other one, it measures up exactly the same. So I've taken a few cuts on the final dovetail on the top face that I'm machining at the moment. Thought I'd better mic it up as I'm getting somewhere sort of visually near. Probably very difficult to pick it up on my mic here, but I'm at 1.707 inches, and I've written it on my slide, 1.686, so 21 thou to go. So what I'm going to do is put a clock on the top of my milling slide, onto the top of it here, and I'm actually going to come up probably about 15, you know, in a couple of increments, and we'll have another measure. There's the clock on top of my milling slide, set on 0, covers off the face of the job, let's just make sure, and I'll wind that up 5 thou, and we'll do that 3 times as we do 3 passes, and then we'll have another measure. So I went down about 18 thou on the clock and taken another reading, and I'm at 1.693. So 4, 5, 6, 7 thou to go. We shall take that 7. Well, there we are. I snuck up on it. Came a couple of thou at a time when I got to the last 5 thou and what have you, and ended up exactly where I wanted to be, 1.686 across the two dowels. I've measured both ends, same both ends, so I've got good parallelism. That's a hard one to say on video. Just quick show you the setup that I got. Magnetic clock on the cross slide, clock on top of the slide, so I could see exactly how much I was putting on. I didn't want to rely on the hand wheel on the top of the milling slide. Yeah, so pretty much happy days. That's the dovetails done.